Welcome to another lecture on literature. This one is for narratology. We're going to start, as always, with a screen share and a PowerPoint. So let me get that pulled up nice and big for you. So on the agenda today, we're going to look at structuralism's core, narratology's roots, and then the three types of narratology as presented in that text that we are using. So if you boiled down structuralism to its bare bones, the takeaway would be that things cannot be understood in isolation. They must be seen in the context of the larger structure. In other words, meaning will always be brought in from outside the story. Narratology, we learn that this form seeks to find distinction between story and plot. Specifically, it's a subset of structuralism. It's a study of how narratives make the meaning instead of bringing meaning in from the outside. And it's an attempt to study the nature of story itself. Even within this aspect of narratology as a subset of structuralism, there are other subsets. While I do not expect you to memorize everything there is to know about these theories, I do expect you to grasp the concepts so that you can apply the concepts to the discussions. The Aristotle modality of narratology uses three main aspects for analyzing a story. They are tragic flow, moment of self-recognition, and a reversal of fortune. All three of these deal with underlying themes and moral purposes of stories about the deep content or inner elements. We will use this modality on at least one story this week. The ideology behind this form of narratology is that you can mix and match any of the elements in order to create a story or plot construct. We'll be applying this concept to at least one of the stories from this week as well, so make sure you have the lists handy. I want you to specifically examine whether or not the items pointed out are correct, or if you think something was missing from the list of functions. What about the spheres? Were those adequately analyzed? Or did I possibly miss something? This modality focuses on how the story is told, the process of telling the story. There are 6 key questions that are used for this form of narratology. Mimetic is asking if it is a piece that is a slow telling or a dramatized aspect, while diegetic asks if the piece is telling or relating. The second question is asking about the viewpoint or perspective. This is a unique question. If you watch an event unfold, say a food fight in the cafeteria, you will undoubtedly have a slightly different perspective of the tale than the lunch lady, the supervising teachers, or even, dare I say it, the custodians who have to clean it up afterwards. This idea of perspective leads us into our very next question. Who is telling the story? Is the narrator someone close to the story, or is it someone who is merely observing from the outside? The narrator and the perspective used to present the ideals will change the tone of the story. So these are important questions to consider. Next, how is time handled in the story? Are there flashbacks? What about flash forwards? These, if used well, can affect the storyline and how the reader views the events. For question 5, how is the story packaged? This is asking about the presentation of the narrative itself. For instance, when we get to Frankenstein, you will find that we have a narrative of an adventurer who happens upon Victor. Victor then tells his own story within the story. This is a common practice for many authors of the time era. There is more to it than this, but you only need to worry about the deep concepts if you're going to use this for your final paper. With question 6, how are speech and thought presented? Are they directly tagged, he said, she said, or are they indirectly tagged by being lumped together with the character's actions? This can imply something about the constructs of the piece as well. That's all I have for you this time. Again, I don't expect you to have a complete and solid grasp. I'm just trying to get you to open up and understand analysis as we progress so that when you get to the format that you are wanting to use for your final paper, you're able to dig just a little bit deeper and understand those concepts on a higher level. Right now, we're still just kind of getting our feet wet. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please don't hesitate to reach out. Thanks so much, and I'll catch you on the flip side.